All right, welcome back into the channel. I am John Kurtz, and I am pleased to be joined by Bob Thompson. You've seen him on the channel before. You've probably seen him on Twitter as well, but the former president of Fox Sports Networks. Tremendous insight into everything that's happening in the world of realignment, the TV contracts that go along with that. And Bob, as we all kind of know at this point, like realignment never sleeps. We get a week before the football season kicks off and UConn comes back into the picture with reporting out there across the board indicating that Brett Yormark is still very, very much pursuing this. So I guess I'll just kind of start to what your reaction was to seeing UConn come back into the news cycle after we had this happen maybe a year or so ago, and it wound up not going anywhere after the Four Corner schools came in. But were you surprised at all that this is back now at the forefront of everybody's mind?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, John. I'm not too surprised, excuse me, that Brett is out shopping again. I think he definitely has a plan to emphasize basketball going forward. He's talked about potentially splitting off the basketball rights from the conference's full media package, which, you can argue one way or another whether that's a good idea. Yeah. So it doesn't really surprise me. I think he probably has been doing some work within the conference to potentially shore up some support, and maybe he has felt that he has that now. And so the rumors beginning again doesn't really surprise me.
Well, let's start with the idea of decoupling basketball, because I was interested to see your thoughts on this, that hey, if you're going to eventually the next TV contract just sell basketball as its own separate entity, I think the idea Brett Yormark seems to have is that can be profitable, that you would make more on basketball by doing that than just lumping everything together. But it seemed like you were a little bit more pessimistic on that. I guess just explain to me your position on where you see the value in that and what that could have for the conference.
Right. If you look back into the early 2000s, many of the packages, I'll give you a perfect example. The Pac-12 package we had was football, and then there was a separate contract for basketball and the men's basketball tournament. And it was that way for a number of years, well over 10 years. I think when the football value became paramount and clearly was outweighing basketball, to combine the two and kind of drag basketball along in the overall deal started making sense. It also results in a bigger number in total that the commissioners can go out and talk about. So you were getting 12-year $2.4 billion deals. That's a great number to talk about, as opposed to football was X and basketball was Y. So I think that has changed over the years. Certainly there's always a little bit of a internal allocation as to what percentage is being assigned to basketball, if only for projection purposes, to see what the increases are on a year-to-year basis. And that number usually runs in the 20 to 25% of a total media deal, college media deal. So if you look at this deal that Brett's doing, I think that, or potentially would be doing, you just have to make some assumptions as to what you think Connecticut would come over for versus what they're getting now or will be getting from Fox. I guess it's Fox, NBC, and Warner Brothers for the Big East basketball going forward. And it just seems to me that it's a rather, if you compare that amount and what they would probably come over for to the total media value of the current or the next Big 12 rights deal that starts, I guess it's this year, it's just a much higher percentage than you would normally see. If you assume they come in at 10 or 11, which is, why move for the same amount of money, right? So they're going to take it, hopefully get an increase, and then take that as a percentage of, say, 31.7, which is the average of the new deal. And it's 25, almost 30%. And it's just not usually that kind of allocation. It just seems rather high. So, I'm not saying you can't get it or that it doesn't make sense or that for them splitting basketball off doesn't make sense, but you need to be careful with that because you might eliminate some potential buyers just because, look, I want it all or nothing. I don't. There's not a lot of people buying basketball only. Well, I mean, certainly with the Big East, you have to, because there's really not anything other than basketball. But you don't really see a lot of people clamoring, throwing around large amounts of money for regular season college basketball. I mean, the tournament, the conference championships or tournaments are always good, and obviously the March Madness package is outstanding. But regular season college basketball is, to a certain extent, a bit of a commodity because there's so much of it out there.
I fully understand that. Like, I'm the guy that preaches here. I mean, like, football drives realignment, but I will ask we're seeing like an emerging popularity in women's sports and women's basketball. Obviously, UConn would add a ton with that too. I mean, does that start to move the needle in any way, shape, or form, even just from a broader sense here with where this is all going, that you have more viewership on possibly women's college basketball?
Yeah, it certainly doesn't hurt. It's not a huge mover yet, but it's certainly growing in popularity. And I think especially if you're, pitching a basketball only media package, to have the women's packages as part of that would certainly make sense. And obviously UConn, with the success they've had on the women's side, would be, very beneficial.
Well, as far as UConn goes in general, I think the way you broke it down, and you started to get into that, but I saw this on Twitter the other day too, was like, okay, if we do the math here, you come down to, all right, if UConn football, when you add them, if we're going to keep the same number from this TV deal, like UConn football would need to be worth around $20 million. How likely do you think it is that in 7 years, UConn, especially in this era, like a revenue sharing era, that UConn can put the proper investment into it to make UConn football an entity that would be worth that, which just means that they're not going to take away money from the rest of the deal for everybody?
Well, continued investment in the football program at UConn is going to be, paramount. And I think, the fact that the rumblings out there that they won't come in for a number of years is kind of indicative that someone has told them, you better pick up the grade here of your team. If they have the money to invest it, that's great. I mean, I can't imagine their TV deals are generating a whole lot of money for them right now as an independent. And I think that in this day and age, certainly it's easier to get better quicker because of the portal and the player movement that there is. You're going to have to play in the NIL game and attract players just as everybody else does. So while it is possible to get better, it's not always as quick of a fix as you want to see. And so you really just, it's hard to sit here right now and say, can they do it? I think they're going to have to try. Otherwise, the football could just be hanging out there on its own. And at this stage of the game, being an independent is, other than say Notre Dame, is kind of a tough road to hoe. You're getting conferences going to, several more conference games, or not several more, but you mean 9 conference games, things like that. And the opportunities for an independent to find a decent schedule of non-conference games, or just for them games, it's going to be more difficult going forward.
With the Big East TV deal that you referenced, is that something that will give Fox perhaps some resistance on this idea of trying to move UConn to the Big 12?
That's part of it. And certainly I'm sure Fox has safeguards built in to adjust the price if UConn leaves. And then they'll have to make the decision, as to whether or not they want to play with UConn coming in, or does that become total ESPN property, and let ESPN foot the bill. Because it is kind of interesting. You're taking content that's right now exclusively Fox, although they share it with NBC and Warner Brothers, and taking it to a conference that ESPN's involved in. So, and I'm sure ESPN would love to have, they're headquartered out of Bristol. I'm sure a ton of those folks at ESPN attended UConn, and it's a great market. It's not technically New York DMA, but it's pretty darn close. And the success, under Coach Hurley has been absolutely, tremendous. And so I'm not sure that Fox would just, take their money and walk away, because UConn is important, and to have a presence on the East Coast with that level of basketball is certainly important for Fox. So I think they'd probably play, if they come over, but the question just becomes how much.
Yeah, one of the things that I keep seeing referenced in these stories is like that Brett Yormark sees as an advantage adding UConn because, in part, yes, big demographic in the Northeast, close to New York, but also like right in ESPN's backyard. They reference that as being an advantage. Like, are there actual tangible advantages there, just to proximity wise being closer to ESPN by adding UConn?
I don't know. Maybe he feels that they'll get a lot of support because of the, probably UConn alums who are all working at ESPN. But look, we used to have a ton of USC and UCLA folks at Fox in Southern California. I didn't ever really see a big advantage to that, other than it was USC and UCLA, and it was LA is a huge market.